Okay, they give you what you need.
A meeting.
Huh?
Shut that door for me.
Hey everyone, this is Rachel Gamble with Macon-Bibb County Public Affairs. We are live on YouTube right now. Zoom is not talking to Facebook for us today, so we are not streaming live to Facebook. We are streaming live to YouTube. Anyone is able to access that at the Macon-Bibb TV YouTube page. We will also be sharing a link to that video on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Macon-Bibb County. And as always, anyone can view the meeting by visiting Macon-Bibb.us, our main website. Hey everyone, this is Rachel Gamble with Macon-Bibb County Public Affairs, testing the audio on our website. We are streaming live through YouTube right now, as Zoom and Facebook did not want to communicate today. So our committee meetings are live via Zoom. We're streaming to YouTube. You can also watch this meeting live at Macon-Bibb.us. We're good to go. Yes, Mr. Sir. Mayor, whenever you're ready, it's working.
All right, we are back in open session now. Following our executive session, no further action needs to be taken at Committee of the Whole. So we have reached the end of our agenda, and we'll move on now to the Operations and Finance Committee. And Chairman Watkins, if you are there and available, I'll let you take over at this point and conduct the Operations and Finance Committee meeting.
All right, thank you, sir. Got somewhat of a brief agenda, and there have been some changes in the agenda based on the previous meeting, results of the previous meeting. But if we can start with the approval of the September 8th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the minutes as read, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The minutes are approved. Next on our agenda are the monthly financial updates. And Mr. Lucci is on the call?
Yes.
Yes.
Rachel, did you receive my email?
I have it. It's opening right now.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll let you jump into it. I know we're just a few months in.
Right. These are the statements for August. She'll be pulling those up shortly. Right now, we are running about $1 million behind in revenue compared to the prior year. That is basically, I think, due to what we saw was a shortfall in last month's local option sales tax. However, to give an update to the group, we did receive a phone call from the Department of Revenue saying that some of the adjustments that they made were for a period of time. So hopefully when we receive the local option sales tax in the next week to 10 days, we will see that that was not what we thought possibly could have been an indication that we would see a
And
lower
just,
number each month.
I felt like we kind of started in the middle of the conversation for some, because me and you've been talking via email about this. But we're talking about the local option sales tax, that 2.1 number.
Right.
Usually it would have been a 2.7, 2.8 type number.
Last year we had received about 2.9 by this point, so about $800,000 different.
And I know one of the things that happened was with that number, there was like a $500,000. It mentioned audit that they took out of us.
Right. It was actually a little bit larger than that. I don't have the exact number, but it makes up for almost this difference. And within a couple days of receiving those receipts for that month, we did receive a phone call, as did probably a lot of the governments, to say that the adjustments that they were making were for a period of time, so that people would know that those, might not be indicative of what we may receive this month. Because ultimately, when you don't know what those numbers are, you could interpret that you may see a significant decrease in
Next month.
in the future months. But that was good news. We will see how that pans out when we receive the sales tax in the next 10 days for the prior month. And hopefully
Base timing on that couldn't have been better, right?
Right. So, and as soon as we get those, and I'm looking at the calendar, I'm sorry, we'll, I can send something to the mayor and he can send something out to the group like he did last month, so we can kind of let y'all know. So we don't have to wait a full 30 days to see what that number is. But until we get it, hopefully it'll be the same or close to the same as, as last year's written number, which would kind of put us back on track.
Right. And Christy, when you send that to me, just go ahead and copy all of the commissioners on it.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so that's as far as revenue, that's really the only thing that we're watching at this point. Some of our other, revenues are still trending within a reasonable number from the prior year. So we'll keep an eye on that. Like you said, we're so new into this year that it is kind of hard to read a lot of the factors, but we're watching those each month and on a weekly basis to make sure, that we don't have, any kind of indication that something's decreasing significantly.
So,
Now-
Mr. Chair. Mr.
Yes.
Chair. So, Christy, those numbers, when we get the final numbers, they should improve what we've got here over what we've got here. You anticipate that
Well,
or not?
no. Okay. Two things. They still made that adjustment. So
Okay.
they're not going to go back and increase last month's number. We're
Okay.
just hoping that next month's number is in line with what we would have expected to receive in the same month of a prior year, that it's a good number. But we still are going to take a hit for those adjustments that they made. So we're going to have to see an increase to make up for those adjustments. But worse, best case scenario is we see that start to trend the same as prior year.
Okay.
But if they're not, but unless we in the next month see it increase $1 million over the prior year, it may take a few months to make up this adjustment because they still made the adjustments. The good news is it didn't apply to that month's sales tax, meaning people weren't out spending where we would receive a number. It was an adjustment. So that was the good news, but they still did make the adjustment. So it was still a decrease for that month, but it was just good news because it was for over a period of time and it didn't indicate that sales were down.
But you should get the number for this past month.
Usually by the 28th.
Okay.
So yeah, we're still going to see, this number was still lower, but the explanation for it was much better than what we had hoped or could have hoped for. Okay.
All right.
So going down into the expenses, everybody's pretty much in line. We only have a few departments that are a little bit over. Board of Elections is self-explanatory. They're purchasing a lot of their needs up front for this year because of the election. So that one makes sense. IT is always a little bit higher at this part of the year because they're paying for some of their software maintenance contracts. Same thing for risk management. Our insurance contracts are paid up front. We make this is normally higher for risk management. I do have to speak to them because I think like one of the premiums did increase. So we may be needing a supplemental for them because of it might have been for some cybersecurity or some additional piece of an insurance policy, but I'm going to check on that and get back to you. But they're normally a little bit higher, but they still may have exceeded a number that they had anticipated. So I'm going to check on that one. Clerk of Superior Court, they just had some small purchases that they made up front, and they're hardly, I mean, barely over the number, which was, 21%. What was the next one? I'm sorry. State Court Solicitor, they were just a little bit higher. They'd already purchased some contracted services and supplies up front, and the health, the Department 5100 for health is we paid the Navicent their $50,000 in the lump sum, which kind of puts them ahead of where they would be. But all of these I anticipate will level out as they've done in past years, but we'll continue to watch them. Yeah, were there any other questions on that?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to our first item of
Mr. Chairman.
action business. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if Christie's still there, I'd like to mention something that the committee and Christie can hear. I just want to call attention to the Land Bank Authority. I think there are funds that the county agreed to with the Land Bank Authority, and I hope we don't let that slide.
How is that going? We're paying out all our member organizations and agencies, I assume. Is there a shortage or are we behind with the land bank?
Kind of behind on a couple of payments.
See, Ms. Moore had her hand up.
We are going to be bringing to you a amendment to the blight bonds because Commissioner Bivens is correct. There's one more payment of $75,000 due to the land bank, but that was not appropriated. So we're going to bring it in and clean up all the little balances so that we can take care of that bill for the land bank.
All right, thank you.
Cool. All right. So the next item of business is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a professional service agreement with Preston Geotechnical Consultants in the amount of $7,890 for the testing of construction materials and soil at Lake Tobosoffke Ranger Station to be paid from the 2018 SPLOST Fund Recreation. You have a motion for discussion?
So move.
A motion and a
Second.
second.
Whatever.
Yeah, okay.
He might.
It's sponsored by Mayor Rickard, who's speaking to the ranger station testing.
Well, I can start this off. They ended up with some bad dirt, as I understand it, soft soil. And before they could pour the foundation for this new ranger station, they had to get the testing done to be sure that it, wouldn't settle. Kind of, that's my understanding. Michael, anybody, or Dr. Moffitt, can you help me with that?
Clay's on the line.
Oh, good. He's the one with the answer. Clay, help me.
Yes, sir. We did have some bad soil, but this is primarily for them testing concrete. They come out and do materials testing. We do a geotechnical contract for every project, but they test everything we put out there. So this is just to get them, be able to pay them to do the work that we ask them to do.
But don't we, that wasn't included in the contract already?
Ms. Lucas, we always the county contracts with the testing services. We do not think it's a smart idea for the contractor to test with the testing services, because we want them to report to us, not to the contractor. That way we can review the material as it comes in rather than the contractor being the one that reviews. So historically, I mean, for the last 7 or 8 years, we've tested directly with the contracting services.
Okay, that's good, but we've already approved the contract for the construction, haven't we?
That is correct.
So why are we so late on this?
I can't
I'm
answer
just,
that.
I don't know A from Z on this. I'm just asking for information.
It was submitted some time ago, and it's just taken a while to get through the process with the county. But we've had this for 45 days or so, I guess, from Preston Testing, the quote to do the work. And they've been doing the work. They just haven't invoiced us yet because they don't have a PO.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, further discussion?
Maybe you can send that bad dirt over to the landfill.
There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a resolution to authorize the mayor to execute a professional agreement with Triscapes in the amount of $1.5 million for the construction of a new ball field complex at Carolyn Creighton Park to be paid from the 2018 Splash proceeds. And this is sponsored by what, Mayor Rigger? Are Clay's available to speak?
Correct. It's sponsored by me, and this is for the ball fields down at Carolyn Creighton Park, refurbishing the ball fields.
All right.
Can give you more details on that.
Which ball fields?
Yeah, hopefully all of them.
If
That's
you,
what I-
It's the construction of a new ball field, so those are
Yeah.
existing ball fields in the picture.
Yeah, that's why I want to know what this is. New ball field complex.
Of
Uh,
a new
Right,
ball
and
field.
This is
Complex.
Michelle. I know Clay's there with you to explain this probably more fully, but if you look at the
Could you
contracts
speak up a little bit?
that are attached, it actually refers to it as a softball field complex, and it's almost like start to finish, but I'm sure Clay can explain it a little better than I can as far as the design.
if
It
I
says
may,
complex.
Is it a new complex? That's what I'm asking.
Clay, I
Said
thought it was
that.
the existing ball
Yeah, that's
fields.
what I'm saying. Which ball
All
field?
right. Oh, this is exciting. Commissioner Wynn asked the question, whether or not it was a new ball field, and I'll give the floor to either Clay or someone else from the administration to speak, and then I think Commissioner Tillman may have a question after that.
Commissioner, if I may, we have completed at the existing softball complex, the 6 softball fields that are down there. We have put in a new concession stand in the middle. We have put up, y'all have bought and paid for new lighting down there. This is to strip the existing grass, level it, address some drainage issues, new sod, new fencing, new dugouts, new bleachers, new bleacher covers, and a new primary entrance to the facility, new sidewalks too.
So this is the existing complex, but you're just doing new stuff to it, right? It's not a
That is
new
correct.
complex.
We are totally refurbishing the existing complex.
So shouldn't it say that instead of it being a new complex? Because
It's the captioning the best, the devil's in the details.
yeah, there you go. Because I thought we were building a new complex when I saw this. So it's not really new. It's just for refurbishing what we have.
That is correct.
So
Thank you.
right.
reword it.
Yes, thank you. Just
Oh,
put refurbished existing
To
complex.
that, and I know I said Commissioner Tillman was next, and I think I heard Commissioner Lucas. Let me switch I don't have it on gallery view. I'm sorry. And I see Mayor Rickard as well.
He's the commissioner too.
Listen,
Sorry.
I'm soon to be Joe Citizen.
But like I said, I did, if Commissioner Tillman had something, I'd mention him a lot
Yeah,
earlier.
I just want to ask Clay, what's the time frame? Is it the regular 145 days, 180 days? What do you see as a time frame to finishing up?
I don't, hold on just a second, Commissioner. I think I have that right here.
Because I know we've already missed a major tournament that was an annual tournament that we normally have. And so I guess that's going to be the important part to me. And I'm excited about this. But yeah, I just need to be able to share with those that are interested a time frame.
I believe that time frame is 140 days, but just a second. I have to pull up the contract on board docs.
Okay. And you can let me know later, but it's just good to know. And I just say, I look forward to seeing the completion of this, because I mean, I'm just interested in see how we're going to address some of these muddy issues. And if you can, Clay, is the sod going to address it? Because I mean, some of those fields have been so terrible. And I think that's one of the major things that I know we've been trying to just correct.
Yeah.
If I may, one of the biggest issue down there is it's just flat, real flat. And so what we're doing is we're laser grading the fields to crown the fields in the middle slightly and push the drainage into new storm drainage that we're putting in out there. It will not address the issues on the track. We will help some of that, but we will not be able to address the water that sits on the old walking track. But the fields themselves, we will be able to address all the drainage on the fields and those areas directly around the fields. We've got 190 feet of new storm pipe and 3 new storm inlets. And we're also cleaning out the storm inlets that are there now. But by pushing the water off the fields into what I will call the pedestrian areas, we'll be able to address the water on the fields.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Rickard.
I wonder if it would be appropriate, Clay, to ask about a change order for this contract to help the right field situation in Luther Williams Field.
I guess I have a couple of things to say about that, Mayor. The Luther Williams Field issue is a direct result of the drainage off the backside of that, which goes through the railroad right-of-way back there. So every time a beaver builds a dam, which he does regularly, and we've trapped beavers back there, it causes that backup. But the problem is that the drainage off the back of Luther Williams goes through that right-of-way, and the Public Works has to get back in there and break up the dam. But the issue is not just the beavers. The issue is the drainage all the way through that area, down through the old Burns Brick area. It's just an overgrown, filled in drainage ditch. And so when we get the water like we got, that causes that problem. We can't do anything to Luther Williams Field itself without doing something to the entire field, because you can't just raise that area in right field because it affects everything else on the field and drainage wise. So if we're going to address the drainage on Luther Williams, we've got to address what happens outside the field areas.
So I gather this sounds a separate project.
In my opinion, it is, sir. And I think we've got to get permission. Every time they go back and do anything with that area, they've got to get permission from the railroad to access the railroad right of way. And so this is a much larger issue. We've really got to go several hundred yards from and cross Lower Poplar Street and deal with the drainage back through that area before we really be able to address Luther Williams Field.
Wow, I think that Luther Williams right field thing has been a problem since Dave Justice warmed up over there. That's old Megan Braves. No telling how much we done spent trying to, like you say, what we've been fighting with beavers for about 2 decades, I guess.
Well, we in the last 8 months, I guess, we hired a trapper. The county hired a trapper for $50 a beaver, and I think he caught 13 beavers and muskrats back there, and didn't begin to address the question.
Oh.
Yeah. Where'd you put them?
Oh.
I can't answer that question, Commissioner.
Interesting.
They were relocated.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Oh.
I'm
Bless
just, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we did bid this out, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
People respond.
If I may, we got, just one second, we got one.
I know we sent it to like 800 companies and only one responded. I'm
No,
sure.
we had eight responding companies. One, two, three of them are local. Two were not. The winning bid was actually about $400,000 cheaper than the next closest bid. I have done extensive research on this company, and they are from the Atlanta area, and they've done about 170 complexes from South Tennessee to Griffin. And it's all they do are ball fields, not just softball fields, but football fields or soccer fields or lacrosse fields or whatever. But they sent me a list, and I called at least five, I think it was five or more of their people they've done business with, other locations, mostly municipalities, who said they did fantastic work.
So they're $400,000 less than the closest bidder, but they're still including all the right work, correct? The necessary work.
That is correct, yes. And the reason they're so much cheaper is they do all the work in-house as opposed to getting subcontractors to do the work.
Okay.
They have all their own equipment. They'll bring down multiple pieces of equipment and bring their folks down here and do the work themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So I know you, and the mayor mentioned the phrase change order earlier. I guess there are two pieces that concern me in Central City Park. I was down there recently, and there's a small lake in the middle of the park, and then there's a bridge that's been there for a long time. I know with phase one, we spent millions of dollars, if not more. Now we're about to spend another million. Why are we not like repairing that bridge? It's completely closed and boarded up.
It is
Doing a fountain.
there are, just one second, let me pull a document. We're going to have to come to you for a timeline adjustment to move money forward to complete this work and the work that needs to happen out there. And I'm looking for my document real quick. I was not made aware until yesterday. I'd forgotten that this was not on the, had not been appropriated yet. But there is about $1.5 million remaining at Luke. I'm sorry, one second. I'm looking at the wrong line. Yeah, there's about $1.5 million remaining, plus what's there now, which is about $800,000. So we got about $2.4 million. We need to repair the bridge at the pond. I've gotten with Robert about that. Addressed Miss Lucas's question about a fountain there, but also the two, what they call the Olmsted buildings at the front where the roofs have caved in.
Yeah.
I did not want to, and this is a question that, I mean, you hired me to keep an eye on things. And what I didn't want to do was to commit to doing all of these things until we took care of the issues that have been most pressing first. Because the bid came in where it did, we're going to have money available to do those things, the other things we need in the park. I can't address the ponding in the park. It's just low. And again, there's no fall in that park. We've known that from the beginning. Moving water anywhere in that park is virtually impossible. In fact, to give you an example, there is less than 3 inches of fall from the high point of those softball fields to the low point of the softball fields. That's why the water doesn't go anywhere. So we're gonna address that by bringing dirt in and crowning those. To address the drainage in the entire park would require some more storm drainage work. And we can look at that if you'd like, but it would be an extensive proposition.
I get what you're saying. It's just and then it kind of, does it sit in the basin as well? Because I know once you're in there, it seems like you're surrounded by like hills of the.
Well, the problem, Commissioner, is that the water table is so high there, which means that if I dig a hole 4 feet deep, I hit water. So there's no place for the water to go. There's no place. And when the water table is full, after a big old rain like we just had, and the water, there's no, it's like a sink. The sink was full. There wasn't any place for that water to go. Once the water table recedes some, then the water will drain. But until then, it just doesn't happen.
Okay. All right. Further questions on updates to now known Carolyn Creighton Park?
Mr. Chair, I've said for a long time that I think a fountain of some sort in the center of that park would be really, really nice. I don't know whether, that fits into what can be done, what's already planned. Maybe companies could help to sponsor it or whatever. But I've mentioned a number of times that as you drive down Victory Drive in Savannah, those of you who've been down there and you see the park, Daffin Park, over to the right on Victory Drive as you're going out toward the beach, there are two beautiful fountains out there. Now, we probably would not be able to have one as large as even one of those, but I just think a water feature, a fountain feature in the center of that park with everything else that's down there would be just really, really neat. And I know that there's a way of getting one in there. So I would just like for us to explore that and be serious about it, because I think it really would be neat down
Yeah. I like the fountain.
Move to approve.
You have a motion
there. Second,
and a second. Oh,
does that
I guess last-
include a fountain?
And last
No,
question
I
before I
guess
go. The train, the Benny Scott train.
Yeah.
Are you the point person on that, Clay, or who's that assigned to figure out?
That's me, sir, and I'm scheduling a meeting on Thursday morning to talk to Robert Walker and Rob Riles and Michael McNeil to get it going and see what we need to do. We've had it tested. Next is to find the company to come out and do the estimate for the
Sandblasting.
cleaning it. What's the proper term?
Sandblasting.
Clay, what you talk? It need to be sandblasted, I believe you told me.
Sandblasted and stripped.
Strip. That's it. So we're working.
I ain't no delegation specialist, but Clay is right there.
I appreciate it.
Um,
Let me answer Commissioner Tillman's question real quick. The contract calls for the work to be completed in 150 calendar days from the date of the issuance of the notice to proceed.
all right, good. So here we go. Item C, contract. No, I'm sorry.
You gotta vote
Item
on
B
it.
was still on the 1.5 million with Triscapes Incorporated for improvements to Carolyn Creighton Park. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C is a resolution to execute a change order for a contract between Small Rental Stewart and Associates in the amount of $123,800 for additional engineering services for the Macon City Auditorium renovation project. And this is also to be paid from the 2018 SPLOST funds. Do I have a motion for the approval and discussion?
So move.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. Mayor
Again.
Rickard or Clay or who's the?
Can I ask what this additional service is, please, Mr.
Yes,
Chair?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Commissioners, Smallwood, y'all have contracted with to do the renovations or do the design for the renovations of the Macon City Auditorium. Once they got in and they've made a presentation to you and showed you
It was
what
beautiful.
sizes are
Glass
for
and
it. Pardon me?
I said it was good. It was a good presentation. They had glass and everything. I
That's
remember.
right.
Yeah.
One of the things we're having to address is a 100-year-old structure. They want to ensure two things. One is the structural integrity of the steel that's in there. There has been questions raised in the past about the balcony strength of the steel and whether it's really sufficient to hold people in the balcony. One is the structural integrity to be able to do the new services that they want to do for the lighting and the sound for permanently installing those things. So we need to test the roof steel. They also want to test the concrete. So this is new, that what they'll do is they'll come in and X-ray basically do an X-ray of the building that'll allow them to do some radar penetrating type testing of the materials that are there to make sure that all that's strong enough to support what they're proposing.
So what happens if it's not reading steel?
Then we start from the beginning and start over. But I think everybody thinks it's fine, but they just want to insure it. So before we do any work, we just want to make sure what's there is good.
All right.
Hasn't that been done before? Hasn't that testing been done before when we appropriated money previously for the auditorium?
Not that
Seems
I'm
like
aware.
I've heard this before.
We tested for water penetration in the basement, and we did testing of the roof, but not the steel holding the roof.
Okay, so
Last time they used X-ray, this time they want to use the MRI technology.
Basically,
I understand.
it's a very
I just worried that we're having folks to come in, and I know people provide all of these different services, but a lot of times we get a duplication of some of this stuff. We pay 2 or 3 times for things that tell us what local folks already know and can tell us. But I mean, I'm not an expert, so if y'all think that this is needed, then I'll support it. But this just sounds so familiar.
We've not done this particular type of testing of the stuff that's hidden behind everything that's there. I'm sorry, Commissioner. I wish I could tell you we had.
Okay.
There's a company that comes out of Charlotte, I believe, that does this penetrating radar of these materials, and that's what they want to do.
All right, well.
All right. Further questions, comments, concerns? There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries. Item D is a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept a health promotion and well-being grant from the ACC Group Health Benefit Program in the amount of $15,000. What y'all
Move
plan
to
on doing
approve.
with the grant? Is there already a plan?
Yeah, I want to know too.
There's a motion and a second for approval. But yeah, I was asking the plans for the dollars. I don't know.
Mr. Moffitt.
Actually, this is Michelle again. It's actually a grant that's administered through the HR department, and it goes for a lot of the wellness programming that they do each year. We've been receiving this same grant for a number of years now. And it's actually designated in 2 separate parts, but it goes towards the programming through HR for the wellness program.
That's like the cooking classes and
Right.
get
Right.
up and move
Part
that
of
stuff.
it. I think that's part of it. And then there's also like like a campaign type of component to it, messaging component.
Oh yeah, because it's supposed to be getting everybody as a campaign against diabetes. Trying to stamp that out. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Items E and F have been removed. And that moves us to item 4A, the discussion of solid waste fees. And I know this has been on, well, Commissioner Bivens is bringing this to our attention again. We've discussed it, I think well, maybe a couple years ago, but we have a citizen who I think is making a ballot request, and I say it's got, and I give the floor to Commissioner Bivens to explain a little bit better.
One of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is because this lady, I don't know, she's about 90 years old, I think. And she was talking about, and I think everybody got a copy of her letter, but she was talking about how much problem it is for her, to try to pay some of these things out of her income, which doesn't change or go up basically. And one time before, it seems we talked about giving some kind of a break to seniors. And I want to kind of take that up and see what everybody thought. And this was basically for discussion. And I don't know if anybody want to come to a conclusion today, but we like for at least everybody to give it some thought and maybe have a short discussion on it now.
Well, Mr. Chairman, may I chime in?
Yes, please.
If I recall the letter correctly, she was talking about going up on her taxes, and we wrote her a letter back and explained to her that we hadn't gone up on the millage rate. It was the same, but if her valuation had changed and gone up, she needed to take that up with the tax assessor's office, and we gave her the phone number where she could call and contest the value next year, and say that it needed to be lower. There was one other thing, and there is, to my recollection, and I really need some help on this, but I think there is an exclusion from certain taxes and fees for senior citizens but I think that is the Board of Education. You get rid of some of your property taxes on the Board of Education. But we made that known to her as well. But as far as just forgiving taxes, that's a gratuity just that we can't do, and we tried to explain that to her. So that's just kind of the way we handled that complaint.
And
well,
maybe I'm not reading about the same thing, but I recall it was a conversation about the garbage fees is what I thought that we were discussing, that she was saying that there was a vacant property that she owned and had been vacant for some time and wanted some consideration and not paying the garbage fees since she wasn't collecting or had a trash can.
I think that was a separate letter, but you're right. There was a letter from somebody that was an elderly female that wanted her rental property. So it wasn't even a homeowner of that. It was rental property and wanted the fees waived.
And so get me right, Commissioner Bivens, what are you discussing here? I guess we're talking about.
Okay, the last thing you mentioned, that's also part of her discussion about the rental. Now, I talked to Michael about this. He explained to me why we decided, not to go down every time somebody said an apartment was vacant. I believe because we had a high percentage of people that if it was vacant, you waive it, and then if they put somebody in it, they didn't contact you back to tell you that they had a tenant. And so I explained that to her, and I also explained to her about the taxes, that her taxes actually weren't going up, just as the mayor said just now. So she's got that explanation a couple of times. I think what it is now is whether or not anybody wants to give any consideration to people of a certain age when they want to pay garbage taxes. As a discussion, not making any decision now, but I thought it'd be good if everybody think about it.
So and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, don't we have a process for waiving based upon income and other vulnerabilities, or am I mistaken?
Right, that's correct, Commissioner. I just wanted to go through that real quick. So we have 3 exceptions for the garbage fees in our code right now. In section 22-22, anyone that is, if the property owner has income below the federal poverty guidelines for a service year, then they can be exempted by submitting an annual application to our solid waste department. Or if they've been rated 100% disabled by either the Social Security Administration or the Veterans Affairs Department, then they can be exempted from the solid waste fees. And that's an annual application. And then the third exception we have is if a property is designated as uninhabitable, and that's something that our building inspectors will go out and they'll actually look at the premises and they'll say if it's uninhabitable or not, then it's removed from it's exempt from billing if it's uninhabitable. So as far as I can tell, I'm looking through the code right now, but I believe those are the 3 exceptions we have for solid waste fees.
And it seems like in this situation, at least 2 would apply.
If she's below the poverty threshold, then she's eligible for an exemption, but you have to actually go and apply for it. So if she has mobility issues or something like that. It may just be that she wasn't able to submit an application. I don't know the specifics of her circumstance, but it is something you have to do every year.
She may not be aware, so I can call that to her attention and she can check that out. And then the disabled, I mean, I haven't seen her in a long time, so I don't know if she's disabled or not, but I'll mention these exceptions to her and, you know, and let her know, because I didn't try to give her the impression that we were going to change anything. I just told her we would discuss it and try to see if there was anything that could be done.
Also, if I may add, Commissioner Bibbins, being a senior, her garbage fees are different, are paid differently. And this was one of the things I think Commissioner Bibbins and I went back, because I think we reconsidered some stuff on these, the way people were paying garbage fees with multiple properties and rental properties. If you are a senior, you don't have to pay it all in once. I think you can make payments. You can make monthly payments as a senior. That was different as well. But I do think that this would probably be one of those things we do need to talk to the Board of Education and maybe, probably the Board of Education. I was going to bring the local delegation in, but this is not one they would tackle. But I would think after a certain age of a person, especially if they don't have children in school, and a lot of people don't have children in school, but maybe there needs to be a way. And I think the tax assessor's office is trying to be creative and come up with ways to further help citizens. But that may be one of them. I mean, you know, after you reach a certain retirement age and you don't have children in school,
No,
I just
no,
don't.
no.
I mean, no, what? I mean, just help me out. I'm just saying. So if y'all don't think that, go ahead. I'll yield.
That'd be a huge
Yeah, I
problem.
heard someone cutting them off. What's going on? Who's next?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this is a good point to make. There are some exceptions out there that our citizens obviously don't know about because Commissioner Bivens would have already relayed that to her. So we somehow need to let our citizens know that those exceptions are out there. I'm sure there are a lot of other people that this could apply to that it would help. I'm not sure how we communicate that to them, but some way, somehow we should try to do that.
Well, this particular citizen, I mean, I'm going to let her know about these exceptions. You know, I mean, like I said, I just mentioned that.
Yeah,
we were
I
gonna have
know.
this-
I just wish we had some way to communicate to them that she already knew this. You know, you're going to do that now, but there's a lot of other people that this probably would apply to that don't know either. I don't know how to get this message out though.
Yeah. We can think about that and work on
Chris
it.
Floor, PR somewhere.
Yeah, somehow.
Follow up. Anything else on this issue?
Yeah.
Hey, Patsy.
Yeah, I think this
If
kind
something else, yeah, go ahead.
I think this kind of covers it for me. So I'll call her and I'll tell her this. And you know, and because I know the problem with this is we have a lot of seniors. If you made exceptions and didn't charge, that's a huge chunk of the income when we're paying somebody to, you know, collect garbage fees and stuff like that. So. But I'll tell her about these exceptions because I wasn't aware.
All right. Anything else for the agenda? Because that's everything I had. If not, we are adjourned. I turn this back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Fine, and then you're the last committee meeting scheduled for today. So unless there's a point of personal privilege by any commissioner,
Mr. Mayor, not a point of privilege.
There is an agenda item that was taken off, Mr. Mayor, I want to raise.
All right, but I had a question too.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, where are we standing on the pay scale study? I talked to Dr. Duhart and Dr. Moffitt last week, and they said there would be some things finished by last Friday. And we've been put off and put off. And Dr. Duhart said that they were going through a last compare. They had been given the study, but she wanted to do a comparison and see how why the numbers were what they were for each position. She was doing a comparison study. I thought that's what the pay scale study did for us. They did the study. Why are we having to do a comparison study? So where are we
Mr.
on that?
Mayor, Mr. Mayor.
Dr. Moffitt.
Yeah, and please, my apologies. In no time I want anybody to feel like they've been put off. I've always said, commissioners, I would have something in your hand the first week of October. So we are trying. I'm waiting now for the final, well, not final, but the draft document from the company that I can distribute to you, which is in the form of what y'all saw from the Athens study. That's what I told that y'all liked that presentation. So I told her to put it in that format. When Ms. Duhart said that we're reviewing the numbers, we are internally tweaking some of the numbers based on some of our comparisons and what we're looking at from studies around the state with DCA and things of that nature, so we can present you all that information. So hopefully I can have it to you as soon as I get it in my hand. I will be distributing it to the commissioners and the department heads for further review.
Well,
We are right on the schedule that I told you before.
1st of October is next week.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And I'll go back, Mr. Mayor. I have a commissioner. I had a pending resolution for well over a month. Several commissioners have expressed meeting back at Government Center that our space was big enough.
Mm-hmm.
Other municipalities are meeting. I did a resolution asking for plexiglass to be installed at commission horseshoes and in front of the lower level seating. And Mr. Mayor, I'm just understanding that you asked or you pulled my resolution, and maybe you can just explain to myself and commissioners that's trying to get back to City Hall why the resolution was pulled, and can we bring the resolution forth to the committee, because there are several members that have expressed getting back to work. I've shared that plexiglass is installed at drive-through windows at grocery stores. We're still doing business, and so plexiglass would, I think, be appropriate if we installed and used the CARES Act funding is what I propose. And so where are we on that? And I can't get the resolution because you actually removed my resolution, sir.
I'm gonna get Rachel to turn her camera around so that rather than looking at her, she can. But you're blocking, Mayor Pro Tem. I can't get you off my screen. Why can I not get you off my screen?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Well, why are you figuring that out? I just want to express a personal point of view. I'm in a situation right now where I prefer not to meet, meetings in person. That's just my personal point of view. While circumstances are as they are, I just want to express that. So whatever the board decides, that's
Right. I was trying to get Rachel, and I'm not sure that it's coming up, Rachel. Huh? It is? Well, I don't know why I'm not seeing it. But anyway, can y'all see the plexiglass that has been installed?
No,
Rachel?
all I see is you.
Yeah.
Well, all I see is you, but Rachel says
All
that
I
she's.
see is
You have to change your view from gallery view, from speaker view to gallery view.
Yeah.
Or swipe on your screen so you can see the different people. But what I'm showing right here is the
I see it right there and there.
plexiglass that's between.
Well, yeah, you have to look for Rachel Gamble on your screen.
Yeah.
So in gallery view, swipe to the right and get to Rachel. And now rather than looking at Rachel, you're actually looking at the plexiglass panels that have been installed between commission seats, or most of them, not all of them, but between most of them. So that's what she's trying to show you, but it doesn't come across very well. But next time you're in the vicinity, you can drop by and see there probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels that have been installed. There's still none up here on the podium to where I sit, between me and where the clerk would sit and the county attorney would sit. We hadn't done those yet. But the second part, you know, you don't need to tell us to do it. We were in the process of trying to get it done, Mayor Pro Tem. So I removed it as being superfluous. If we're already doing it, why have a resolution to talk about to do it? But the second part of your question is, when are we going to use it?
Yeah.
And that's the more difficult question, because I think we've got at least 3 commissioners who do not want to meet right now in person, and they're
And Mr.
trying to
Mayor.
limit. Yeah, Dr. Moffitt.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to bring up. From that is Rachel, is Chris in the area?
I believe he's in his office, actually. I can check.
Yeah. And with knowing that at least 2 or possibly 3 commissioners don't want to meet, I was going to get Chris to explain the difficulty of trying to do a in-person meeting and broadcasting it via the Zoom. That we do not have the technology to do both. So it's an all or nothing scenario when it comes to the technology to either do the Zoom meeting and broadcast it on the web or do it in person.
I can comment on that because I was part of the team that tried to set it up. I don't know if y'all recall, a couple months ago, we had a public hearing where we attempted to link the systems and use Zoom as well as use our built-in system here in Chambers, and it created an echo. Our system is not optimized to use both Zoom and our built-in system. We were working with the IT department to do so. Any workaround we could find was clunky and created an echo. So that's what we experienced. Chris may have more to add from his perspective. Chris, I'm not sure if you heard what Dr. Moffitt was just saying.
I did. I just like that. If y'all would remember, we tried it for that public hearing back in late May, early June, and it created. So we tried about 5 or 6 different setups of combining the 2 systems, but it created such a feedback loop. You couldn't hear anything on any of the microphones.
Y'all done hijacked my plexiglass resolution. I want to get back to, and y'all can discuss that. But back to my plexiglass resolution. Mr. Mayor, are you saying that because I put forth this resolution, are you saying your response to the resolution was you directed Rob to go ahead and start implementing the plexiglass? Because I would say that this is not just to come back just now to say make us meet. I think the new norm is going to be we probably should have plexiglass.
Yeah.
Regardless. I think that's just going to be the new norm for society. If that's what you did, fine. If not, then, because I didn't know about the resolution being pulled because that you directed Rob to do it. And if so, then that makes sense. And I don't have to keep asking you about the resolution because I didn't know that I knew you had a sample that you showed us 3-4 weeks ago, but I didn't know that you were trying to install them. Thank you for that.
Can I, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question about that? If
he was muted too, you were muted, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I was muted, and I apologize. What I was trying to say was we were in discussions with Rob about the possibility of doing plexiglass panels before you went to the county attorney's office and asked for it. And I did think it was a little superfluous since we were already looking at it. However, if you want me to, I'd be more than happy to refer this to Facilities and Engineering Committee and let them look at it and see what additional panels they would suggest or recommend if you wanted to do that. So I don't mean to try to put you off. And if you're interested,
no, you're fine.
in more,
no, I just didn't know if that's what you were doing.
Matter of fact,
resolution's fine. I didn't know why.
Do we still have that resolution? Then we'll put it on Facilities and Engineering for 2 weeks from today. Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Wynn.
Yes, sir. If for those that it sounds like the majority do want to get back and meet and can, but for those that can't or don't want to, 2 or 3, could they do a conference call versus Zoom and just have them in the meeting that way? Versus,
I think that's what Chris and Rachel were trying to explain to you. We don't have the ability to do that successfully. By meaning, we can arrange for you to call in, but then when you do, Janice has to hold her phone and put it on speaker and then hold it up to the microphones here on the desk in order to hear or be heard. And it's just difficult to do business that way.
With all our technology, we can't figure this out.
Thus far, we have not been able to do that. Now, maybe if we
I'm
invested in
gonna leave Rachel in charge of that. She'll figure it out.
I can add something to this. To make the two systems link, because we've been trying to figure this out since we had that mishap with the public hearing. It would require a major upgrade that would cost a lot of money for us to have a system that is capable of doing that. Like you mentioned, Commissioner, when there are ways to call in on a phone, but if you've got multiple commissioners calling in and you just have them by phone and Janice is having to hold a phone up to a microphone, it gets incredibly it's almost impossible to do.
We don't have conference call capabilities.
Y'all got Rachel playing politics, talking about money, how much money it's gonna cost us. That should be the least of her worries. Get your technology, Rachel. Don't be saying it's gonna cost money. Get your technology, girlie.
Don't we have conference call technology?
Whoa. 2 weeks from today, it's on facilities and engineering, and we'll have people there that can explain it and try to have this. But I don't think it's, it's beneficial to continue this conversation at this time.
I agree.
Okay, so we'll refer to facilities and engineering in 2 weeks, and y'all can have a heyday with it then. Are there any points of personal privilege?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you earlier, I joined the meeting a little after you had started, but did we express our condolences publicly on behalf to the Charles County family?
We did not, Commissioner Lucas. We did not.
Please take he was our former assistant county manager, and we mentioned others who have passed away, and I just feel like we do need to express our condolences to the family of the late Charles Coney.
Well said, well spoken. And we had not done that, so I'm glad that you did.
And to the other one that passed away this morning.
Who?
We need to keep in mind when they talked about it, passed away today or yesterday.
Right. We have had several deaths of employees and former employees here in the last 2 or 3 days, and we do obviously extend our sincere sympathy to the family of Harold Gaines, who is a longtime employee in HR, and Joe Nabham, who was a great addition to the IT department, and his sudden and unexpected death leaves us all in Charles County as well. So yeah, we've been several, but point well made, Commissioner Lucas. Any other points of personal privilege? Hearing none, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Goodbye.